Hello everybody, my name's DC Rockwell and this is Automate All the Things. We were gone last week because of technical issues and we're late today because of technical issues. We will have to figure out something more permanent in the future. I am currently investing into an Elgato capture card, so this way we can get a 2-PC setup and hopefully all of our technical issues will be taken care of on the next show, if I can get everything in time. Tonight's show is going to be really great. We have a great new guest. His name is Brett Scott, and Brett Scott is the co-founder of is one of the co-founders of the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range. We've talked about it a little bit in the past, but Brett's here to talk to us about the larger scale stuff, the implications of why the cyber warfare range even exists, what kind of things are going on there, and what kind of problems is it going to be or is it solving now? So let me get everybody on here and let's make sure that any of this is still working. It looks like the camera is not working, so hopefully something else will work here. All right, so there we go. We got everybody in here. Now we have to make sure that the actual that this is going to work. Okay, I'm gonna unmute everybody. You guys hear me?
Yep.
This is Brett. I can hear you.
All right, excellent. Well, it looks like our video is all kinds of messed up, but our audio is going to work, it looks like. So we can just go ahead and do this, and hopefully everything will catch up and we'll be all right. Okay, so let's start off by talking about what is a co-founder of a cyber warfare range, and what do you do there?
All right. Well, thank you. The cyber warfare range is an old idea that I was talking about in all of my speeches that I was giving in all kinds of different sort of security contexts, government and private sector. And I just got tired of advocating for the idea and nobody taking me up on it. So I have a business partner, and I looked at the business partner and said, hey, look, if we don't do this, it's just simply not going to happen. So he was my co-conspirator, and as a direct result of that, we founded the Cyber Warfare Range in 2012. And then in 2014, we moved into our current location, which is at the AZ Labs, the former Air Force Research Labs, but currently owned by the city of Mesa.
Wow. And so so you're saying nobody took you up on the idea. What was the idea?
The idea was, and at the time I was calling it the caustic cauldron. It was something that was intended to be the most hostile place on earth for cybersecurity technologies to exist and be tested. And it was also a place where you could learn how to do those things, to learn those critical skill sets, essentially to be a bad guy so that you could do a better job of being a good guy. I mean, long before there were computers, there was a guy named Sun Tzu that said, if you don't know how your enemy operates, you're going to lose half the battles. And of course, if you don't know how you operate, you're going to lose half the battles. If you don't know how either one works, you're going to lose every battle. So we really need cybersecurity professionals that are actually capable, and that starts with them knowing how bad guys like me think. And so it was intended to be that. So you have the red team, which is the attackers, the blue team, which are the defenders. The blue team usually loses. So if you want to learn how to conduct a digital investigation, then there is no better place than the Cyber Warfare Range, because we're all crime all the time. And we obviously don't prosecute, but we want you to learn how to do cases by actually doing cases. The only thing we do is we don't go to police departments or court or anything else like that. It's just a way to learn skill sets by doing them.
Wow. And do you have to be in Arizona to take advantage of the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range? Like, if I was interested in taking advantage of a safe place to do hacking-related activities, should I look for one that's local, or due to the nature of it being, I would presume, like SSH and, due to the nature of it being systems, can I get involved with you guys from another state?
Yeah, the system is easily available to anyone all over the world. A word of caution: if you're in a country that's hostile to hackers, you need to work it out with your local intelligence and law enforcement of whether or not they're going to have a problem with you. We don't have a problem with it, but your country may have a problem. If you're in the United States, we've already gone to the trouble of making sure that nobody can get upset about what you're doing at the cyber warfare range, and you access it from anywhere on Earth. We use a mobile phone. You text us your IP address, and then it gives you instant access to our ranges for 24 hours. So you can do this anywhere. But for people who are in Arizona, I highly encourage you to come on down and spend some time with us. It greatly accelerates your learning, and some of the minds that are there are truly staggeringly brilliant. And so it's almost a shame to not take advantage of those minds by coming to visit us.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing this for? You said you finally did get a business partner that started this up. When did you start that?
So I've been a hacker since I could basically breathe and type on a computer, which is a long, long time ago, almost 40 years. But my business partner and I kicked off the cyber warfare range in 2012. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that I have been helping our mutual uncle with all kinds of cyber warfare related issues, and they're well aware of some of the things that we put together to help train others. And so what we did was we took what we were doing in the spooky space, and we took it and put it out in the public space and allowed the public to come in so that they too could learn these critical skill sets.
So you're all professionals that come from a background where you've had to deal with real actual situations, and so you're offering up the context to be. Oh, I guess I'm kind of laughing inside because I'm imagining you as a teacher trying to teach me about things, but then not being able to talk about half of the things that that I'd like you to talk about. So. I guess my
much to the invitation of our uncle, I talk about all kinds of stuff that I probably shouldn't talk about. But again, how can we solve this incredibly massive problem if we don't help people understand what's going on? So I'm married. I've got wonderful children. I don't need any more glory or ego strokes, but they do make movies and TV shows about the stuff that I and others do at the cyber warfare range. And you've heard of us. You just didn't know it was us. We are in the news every week. So it's a great place to be impactful in the world, to learn critical skill sets that, even though there are lots of cyber ranges, quote unquote, big air quotes, the fact is there's absolutely nothing like what we do. And that's why we made it happen in 2012.
So for anybody who's seen a movie and they've seen a cool scene where, you see some hacker doing something awesome and they're saving the day, they're going to get the skill sets to actually realize that dream at your cybersecurity or your cyber warfare range.
100%. And, there is such a rarefied skill set that, there's a lot of the stuff that you see in movies is kind of hokey, but putting all of the drama side of it aside, what's going on, what they're talking about, that's the kind of stuff that we do for real. And again, where else can you learn that? And the answer is really nowhere except us.
So Elio's talked in the past a little bit about Capture the Flag event. So I think a lot of our audience is familiar with that particular type of an event. What other things go on at the cyber warfare range?
Yeah, certainly. So as an example, we're actually helping NATO train a NATO partner on cyber warfare. And so even though the DoD has hundreds of millions of dollars of cyber ranges, they come to us because of our competency and the sophistication of those exercises. But we do many more things than that. So, our primary mission is education. So we have, if you will, a grade separated set of targets. So as you progress through and advance through the levels, you have an increasing level of difficulty. So you can start off knowing very little and work with a tutorial and screenshots and all the stuff to help you just kind of do it, and then learn generally what's happening. And then, of course, you can then apply those skills and continuously improve them until you graduate from our Jedi range. And once you're out of that, basically the world is your oyster and nothing is going to be unavailable to you.
Is there a particular meaning to the usage of the word range? It seems like in this case we could take range in school or university and swap them out. But I've also heard of things like cryptography referred to as munitions, and I'm wondering if that's sort of where the metaphor is coming from.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, a lot of people miss that. The cyber warfare range, just like a gun range, is a place where you actually deploy weaponry against real targets. And as a direct result of that, we're not only doing something that no one would ever let you do. I mean, for all the network people out there that are screaming and pulling their hair out, yeah, we let you actually hack our stuff. And if it's not smoking by the time that you're done, then you suck as a hacker. Get better. But it's intended to be a real place where you launch real weaponry against real targets so that you understand exactly how that works, and no games.
Well, tell me if we can talk about this or not, but with the Vault 7 Wikipedia leak of what I have come to understand are just they are cyber weapons, right? Would we be able to come to the range and use those weapons in a controlled manner with somebody who can show us how they are used in order to gain an understanding of the stuff? And if so, what kind of limitations do you have to stop somebody from, the opposing force from using your services to train themselves? Kind of like, we don't want to be training the pilots that would be taking over and hijacking our planes.
Well, let me just say that if you want to come to learn from us and be a bad guy, you're one of the dumber bad guys. You should quit now, because foreign countries will pay you really well to learn these skill sets, but all you have to do at the end is be a bad guy against our country. So our uncle only has a few outlets to go when he goes to catch those people. And let's just say we know a lot of those people that helped Uncle Sam catch those bad people. So you could literally meet the people who are going to put you in jail. So if you want to come and learn to be a bad guy, don't be a bad guy against the U.S., or literally we will happily and gleefully put your butt in jail.
So, right. So by the nature of being an Op4 would be to not get on everyone's radar. And by coming to the cyber warfare range, you're necessarily getting on everyone's radar.
Well, if you're in IT or express any significant interest in cybersecurity, you are already profoundly on radars in ways you cannot comprehend. And if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. But we as Americans do not understand the magnitude of resources being expended to loot us of every last thing of value we have. And so, for example, there are certain countries that specialize in the production of noodles, and those countries have more people than we can possibly imagine. And that means that if you're a cybersecurity person, they can actually dedicate a human life to stalking you for the rest of your life. And they can do that in multiplicity. And you might say, my gosh, why would they do that? And it's really simple. When you're a country that thinks generationally, then they say, my gosh, this person is just learning now, but its chances are if they get any good, they'll be important later. So we're going to put a human life to pursue this person, to stalk them every minute of every day. And then when they become important, we can then use all of the information we've accumulated to get what we want. So that's kind of how some of our opponents think. And we as Americans simply cannot inhale that and understand it and embrace that, the severity of it. And so that's why the good guys are losing and why the bad guys are winning almost every time.
Wow, that's terrifying. And I think several of the people in our audience just put tape on their webcams as you were saying that. It is terrifying to think that there's the resources, and if you become enough of a pain in somebody's side, that they could just assign a person to ruin your life for the rest of your life, right?
Yes, and it won't be just one country. There are many.
So are you suggesting that the average American should have a working understanding of cyber warfare, or that we need more people who will be able to act at, because like currently, I don't know anything about artillery, right? But I do know that it's very necessary to the security of our country. And so I know that there's some people out there, and they do know how to use the artillery, and they're going to use it on my behalf, right? The military. Do I need to learn this stuff, or is this something where we just need to sort of call up our Congress people, our representatives, and say, hey, listen, I want you to get more people to take care of this for me?
Well, let's be clear. Old dudes will never be relevant in this fight. So calling your congressman is kind of a waste of time because, frankly, they don't know how to turn their computer on, let alone legislate to it. The bottom line is we have to have people that are willing to defend themselves. And for everyone that's not willing to defend themselves or their company or their country, there's a word for you. The English is a rich language. The word for people that don't learn these skills is victim. And most of your audience has already been a victim. And if you thought it was bad the last time, just wait. It's going to get a lot worse. And this year is definitely going to be one of those years.
So if we want this to be better, and we have the ability to understand this kind of technology, sounds to me like you're saying that I got to take it upon myself, and I've got to become one of these. I don't know what to call them. I mean, I don't want to call it a soldier because that would be putting down what an actual soldier goes through. But what do you call that? A deputy cyber, warfare individual? I don't know what you would call them, but it sounds to me like we can't expect this to be a problem that's going to take care of itself. And myself
right.
And our... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, a good term would be patriot, right? So it's really simple. We are now on a side of a war which we already have beat others. So we used to be able to outscale our enemies and as a direct result win. So our only strategy for winning has been to simply outscale the enemy. It should be very obvious to literally everyone involved. There is 0% chance that we will outscale our current enemies, which means we're fighting a battle we know others have lost. So you must get serious. We must all be working together and collaborating for our own futures. We are completely going to be victimized if we do not get enough people who are serious about defending our country, which is basically defending where we live and operate. It is that serious. It's not FUD. For everyone that says that's FUD, please go jump off a building. But the bottom line is we absolutely have to get serious. And it is a function of living in our society. If you want to live in a free and open society, you're going to need to be able to defend it. And that means you, not somebody else.
It sounds, this sounds like this kind of conversation could have been had on a radio show in the 70s when they were talking about the draft, and they're talking about how there's an imminent danger and we don't have enough people and we have to come together and we have to, fight off this thing. Now there's differences, of course, and we're not going to go into those. But in this case, it sounds to me like you're doing a call to arms for any able-minded person that is able to understand this stuff. That, because we've had other guests on here and they've discussed a skill gap in what we need as far as people who can protect the citizens and all their information, and what we are actually producing out of our universities. And it sounds to me like your warfare range is actually supposed to address that, or it does address that. But it also sounds to me like you're saying, sort of a call to arms, and you're saying, hey, every able-minded person, we have this enemy. And this enemy is coming, and they're going to do bad things to you. And if it doesn't directly affect you now, it will directly affect you in the future. And if that's the case, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that essentially, if there could be a draft for this, that we should have one?
Yes, it is exactly that. And we just don't have enough people in existence that are on our country. So literally, it's as many as we can muster so that we can put up our fight, right? We are already losing. We already know how this story ends. The story ends badly. What we're doing at the Cyber Warfare Range is desperately trying to produce as many capable cyber warriors, which is a big difference between, say, a traditional institution. There are lots of schools cranking out people with certs and things that say, "Oh yeah, you're good at cyber," and everyone that gets those things knows that they really don't know anything about cyber. So when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about capable cyber warriors, not certified or anything else cyber warriors, but real ones. We need to produce them as quickly as we can.
Brett, we have an audience member that said that if they could afford the education, they'd answer the call, but they don't have $150,000 to spend on it or be indentured for the rest of their life. Is the Cyber Warfare Range an answer to that?
We are completely free. We are completely free because we don't have time to try to make this into a business. We don't have time to try to do anything else. We have to produce capable cyber warriors. It is a fight for our future. So I'll make my money in other places. This is a place where we're trying to create a place for us to live at the end of all of this.
If you don't mind my asking, then how do you fund your operations?
By being spectacularly stupid. So I am blessed to have a business partner who shares the same vision and shares the same passion. And so fortunately, life has treated us fairly well. And so as of this moment, we are the ones that have opened up a gigantic sucking hole in our bank accounts to make this happen. There are many people that have said that they want to support us. When they tell me, I ask them to give me $1 because I could endow this range on promises. But the bottom line is, at the moment, it is myself and my business partner who are paying the bills and making this place possible.
Maybe there's some people out there who, for one reason or another, they either don't want to actually learn all the skills they need to in order to become a cyber warrior themselves, or they can't because of other obligations or whatever. For those people, is there a place that they can financially contribute so this way they can assist cyber warriors in their development?
Absolutely. So we do have a donation link on our website, azcwr.org, stands for Arizona Cyber Warfare Range. And so we have that. If there's anybody out there that knows how to do fundraising, by golly, I'm ready for a new best friend. So we are absolutely open and would love to have support of others. We need to make these things available in as many places as possible. One place is not enough.
Very, very profound. Actually, I'm wondering. I'm wondering what I can do. You know, this is what are there different levels of commitment? So could I be a weekend warrior, if you will?
Completely. Everything is self-paced. We do not have a formalized curriculum. What we have is a bunch of material that's intended to help you understand what you don't know. So a lot of people say, well, how do I get started? And it's really simple. We start you off on a simple path that's guided. That path will help you understand all of the branches of the ecosystem of paths. And as a direct result afterwards, they say, well, what do I do after I'm done with that? And the answer is, by that time, you're going to know what interests you. And then you're going to say, well, I'd like to learn more about this. And then, of course, we have people and resources to help guide you through it. You will get through all of cybersecurity. But when you do so, pursuing your own interests, you'll get there a lot faster than some idiot professor can prescribe for some stupid old institution.
So it's more of a Montessori sort of model where the individual students pursue what they're most interested in at the time.
That is an approximate for sure.
Excellent. So let's talk more about a cyber warrior. So I presume cyber warrior is really an applied hacker, right? And so, we have a lot of talk on the show about what a hacker is, but I don't think we've had many actual hackers on the show who are willing to say, hey, I'm a hacker for sure. I think you're one of them. So can you answer that question? What is a hacker? And what do hackers do? And what isn't a hacker? Like, we've probably all seen the movie Hackers, and they're not real hackers. They're just a fictionalized version of that, right? But also, there's things like, a lot of us have heard of the term script kiddies. Do you consider them to be also hackers, or how do you define that term?
Well, I'm old enough to have done a good job of getting rid of my ego, so I really don't care what their skill level is. But what I do care about is people who are curious about understanding how things operate so that they can make them safer for others. And for those people who are kind of the warrior mindset, to make them unsafe for others too, right? So needless to say, in war and other things like that, we need to be able to do damage to the bad guys. And so we are happy to help connect you to either side of that fence. We're the one place on earth where you can walk in off the street and become a warrior, hack for our uncle or for our military or for our intelligence establishment and be that person. We can make a phone call to help you be that person and get paid to be it. We also are very keenly interested in helping people who want to defend our assets in our country. And so we obviously have connections to the private sector and all the places that use the blue teamers as well. So, for those of you who are hackers out there and you've been called all kinds of things, script kiddies and so forth and so on, there's a lot of ego in hacking. In the end, ego is a very expensive hobby that no one can afford. But the bottom line is there's a difference between a hacker and a cracker, right? So a cracker is someone who breaks stuff and does it for their own gain, personal profit. A hacker is someone who is curious that wants to make things do things they were not intended to do. So the term hacker has been sullied by a bunch of people that didn't understand what the heck it was that they were doing. The real problem is crackers, people who break things for their own amusement or for interests that are against our country. Those are our problems. Hackers are people who are trying to learn something. So the Hacker Manifesto says, my crime is only that of curiosity, right? That is what a hacker does. You want to understand how this thing works and then make it better, which, by the way, is a very natural human instinct. We have mechanics that become race car drivers, and they become crews for race car drivers. They're hacking the engine to try to make it perform better than other people can make that thing perform. That's what hacking is for computers. It is simply trying to modify the thing as it is and make it do more or different stuff than it was ever intended to do.
Right. I think it's very interesting because when you take the ego away from it, and you're saying that if you're a script kiddie, quote unquote, or you're just somebody who's trying to make a system do something more than it did, and you're using a script, a snippet of code to do that, you're saying they're already on the right path, and they're already in your mind a hacker. And also another thing that was interesting with what you were saying was how the hacker is very neutral. It's just, it happens to be the thing a person does. Now they can apply that and they can become a black hat or a white hat hacker, right? But in the end, a hacker is just somebody who's curious, trying to make it do more than make a system do more than it was intended to do.
That's right, or to prevent others from doing that. So the blue teamers are intended to essentially make sure that others don't do that with the things they protect. The red teamers, guys like me, I'm there to embarrass and beat up the blue teamers and make them lose their jobs.
Do you think it was just media, the popular media, and I'm not just talking about the news, but I'm also talking about movies like Hackers and things like that, which have sort of contributed to a negative connotation associated with the word?
No, it's fear. So the fact is that people fear what they do not understand, and literally, when you know how to manipulate computers, if the pen was mightier than the sword, the computer kicked the living crap out of the pen. So it is the control of extreme power by an individual that is what terrifies everyone. And it's one of the reasons why I can't go anywhere in the world, because even though they don't have any evidence of crime against me, they are so afraid of me that they think if I'm in their country, it's a national security risk. So I love it. My wife hates it, but that's just the nature of the beast.
So is that something that a person who's interested in cybersecurity, if they do go to these ranges and they do learn these skills, is it sort of a given that they're going to be on some other country's radar from then on, and that they could be denied entry to certain countries based upon what they know?
Yeah, that is absolutely a possibility. You have to get kind of far before they do that. Frankly, they're more likely to allow you into the country and then try to get you, to coerce you or convince you to stay in their country or to help them do something than they are to do the others. But I'm very clear on which team I serve. I am on Team USA. Both sides of my family have been here since the 1600s, so I'm not planning on changing teams anytime soon. So,
Wow.
Sorry, China. Sorry, Russia.
That sounds. I mean, it just sounds like a Hollywood, storyline, right? Like you would go on vacation somewhere, and what would happen? You would get a call, or somebody come to your door, and they'd say, "Hey, can we talk to you for a moment?" And then they're going to proposition you to sell out your country. Like, to me, it sounds fantastical. Just something that wouldn't actually happen, and yet this happens all the time for real, right?
Yeah, lot to romanticize what our enemies do, but there are certain countries that are aspiring nuclears that just got a great deal from the last presidency, and they'll pay you $10,000 a month to be a bad guy to hurt the United States. If you like to win hacking competitions, you will be approached by people that are great at eating and making noodles. They'll offer you a brand new BMW, a perfect flat, and as much of whatever it is that you like to have sex with, if you'll come work for them to be a bad guy for them. And they don't care what nationality you are. They just care that you don't do anything against their country. And if you do, they don't call you, they don't talk to you, they just kill you. So, I mean, the people who are committed against us are already treating this like it is a very serious resource that must be acquired and controlled. And we're the only country that's doing a good job of trying to take the people that are talented and either throw them in jail or piss them off to where they hate us and then go work for those other countries.
It seems like there's a situation here where we have people who want. Let's say somebody wants to learn about cyber warfare. If they do this, then they know that there's this likelihood that maybe they're going to be put onto a list. Likely they're definitely going to be put on a list. They're going to be watched. Their life might get a little bit more difficult. Maybe they don't even get to go to certain countries. Perhaps later on they can't get security clearances, things like that. In other words, there's a penalty to being found out that you're a hacker. And yet at the same time, it seems that there's these countries out here who, they're going to benefit from this, right? So in other words, if we have somebody who's interested in something like cyber warfare, but there's no official way for them to be involved in it as like a kid, as a social club type of a deal where, they get to do this thing in a safe environment, it seems to me like every one of those people who are still interested in this stuff are going to go off and they're still going to learn about it. And when they do, they become more and more valuable to the enemy.
That is exactly what's going on. And there are sadly, a long list of hackers who were loyal and love this country. And this country has treated them so badly, they are now working every day hurting us because the little brains got afraid of them and went to hurt them. And I'll give you an example. So there's a hacker by the nickname Weave. Weave's crime was proving to AT&T that their iPhones were leaking information through their website. He noticed that there was a flaw, contacted them. They told him to go pound sand, probably less politely. He then said, guys, this is really a big deal. You really have to take this seriously. He said, don't do anything or we're going to sue you for slander. He says, okay, fine. I'm going to collect the data and then I'm going to show them their data, right? So I'm going to prove that I'm not lying. This is a real problem. So he downloads all the data and he gives it to them. You know what they say? Screw you, pal. Don't tell anyone or you're going to go to jail. So instead of fixing the problem that he's now proven exists, they go after the guy, the messenger. And as a direct result of him saying, well, this has to be changed, I'll just tell everyone that this is a risk. So if you owned an iPhone, you're at great risk of losing your personal information because these guys are refusing to secure their stuff. And as a direct result of him doing that, they put him in jail for 10 years.
Isn't
he has left the country.
I'm sorry.
And he hates it.
Doesn't it seem like this is a...
And he hates
Right. I'm sorry, we have a little bit of a lag, but doesn't it seem like this is just a normal pattern for the United States, though? For instance, the guy, there were several people who found security flaws in the TSA, and those people were prosecuted afterwards for finding these holes in the TSA security?
Absolutely. And frankly, what they're doing is they're prosecuting the wrong individual. If you're so stupid as to do that to someone and you're in a position of power, you are the liability. You are actually the threat, and they should be putting your butt in jail because you're an ignorant moron. So that is the problem. It is horrifically bad. We treat hackers so in this country. And I mean, if you'd like more terrible examples that others have heard about but didn't know all the details, I'm happy to share them as well.
Well, I'm thinking about... does the Arizona cybersecurity range also have programs for educating? So what I'm thinking is that you said earlier we can't depend on our representatives to do anything about those kinds of problems. So it seems to me like the next logical place you could go is to law enforcement directly and try to educate them a little bit and saying, hey guys, in these kinds of cases, it's actually these people are actually blue team. They're helping you out, right? Or I guess they're red team in this case, since they're trying to break your stuff, right? But still, the point, I can't remember exactly which teams are which. You'll have to give me a refresher. But the idea here is just that doesn't it seem like we need to educate? It's a question. Is it law enforcement that we need to educate in order to show them that these people are trying to be part of the good guys, and that if we turn them away, it's like one of those classic, beginning stories for a villain in comic books, right? They try to come to the good guys' side. They try to do the right thing. The good guys reject them, and now they're a super villain, right? Doesn't it seem like this is a basic thing?
The story. That is the story. I mean, that is the perfect capture of the story. I sadly could give you so many examples of not only U.S. citizens, but people that want to help our country that are actually hurting us, but would love to be helping us. And all they want to be is someone who lives here. And yet our government is structurally stupid about how we treat these people. And as a direct result of that structural stupidity, we'll never gain from those people. Because of other things.
Is it even legal for me to ask whether or not our country does the same thing? Like, can we try to brain drain other countries by offering their brightest hackers to come here and work for us, or does that not work?
Well, we still, I don't know how much longer we'll have it, but we still have the mind share for being the most free country in the world. And as a direct result, the fact is most people around the world want to live here because we are the greatest country in the world. The problem is that right now, I don't know how a hacker could possibly take us seriously when we say, no, you know what, we've been real stupid, but we'd really like to be unstupid, and why don't you come help us out? That's not happening yet. I can tell you that we are moving the needle. I spend a great deal of time in the halls of back rooms and things like that, talking to people saying, stop being stupid. But let me give you a classic example of a wrong-headed way of approaching a problem. So you talked about the Vault 7 leaks. Right. That includes weaponry, and that weaponry will soon be available to everyone. If you have a security clearance in this country and you are caught looking at the weapons that were stolen from our CIA that will be used against you and our country, if you're caught looking at those things, in other words, seeing what weapons the enemy now has, they will revoke your security clearance. So it's that stupid. That is structurally stupid. Yeah, you're not allowed to learn what the weapon is that's going to be used against you.
So what can be done about this? I mean, that sounds like a pretty terrible situation. Is this something that has to be changed by legislation, by a cultural change at the security agencies? What's wrong here? Why is this happening?
Well, we're working hard to try to make the other stuff going. But what really tilted this conversation was we started with what higher power can we appeal to help us solve this problem? And the answer is very clearly no higher power. Be the change. You are the higher power. If you are better at what you do, and if you're able to defend the things you're in charge of, this country benefits. And even though the old men don't get it and they are trying to do stupid things, the bottom line is if we have core competency, we will eventually win, because we've had worse pinches before, and this country always wins when we work together.
Is it necessary for somebody to have a security clearance to be an effective cyber warrior?
That's actually the opposite. If you have a security clearance, your hands are tied.
Wow.
So that's one of the detractions that people in these security establishments, so certain agencies, certain intelligence agencies, and no such agencies out there, they sit there and try to call me to the carpet saying, you're teaching people critical skills of uncleared personnel. And I remind them that they're the ones that keep losing all their toys. They're the ones that have been looted with all of their cleared personnel. And yet I don't have any of these problems with my uncleared personnel. So I tell them that when my scoreboard looks as bad as yours, talk to me about cybersecurity. But until then, please go tell yourselves. And I don't think it's tell. It's probably some other expletive. But the bottom line is, I don't want to hear it from people that are already losing. Don't take advice on winning from losers.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I've been just listening to the conversation. It's been good stuff. But I did want to kind of touch back on some of that stuff. What you were saying is the only way to win is to have everyone working together to get everyone in the fight. There's a really good video that kind of shows this. I think it was the DEF CON 19, the steal everything, kill everyone, and cause total financial ruin. And I'll paste the link. But the talk was really good, and they talk about security. If you're securing a facility, in the video he shows how he's able to walk into a kitchen, just walk right into a commercial kitchen and just browse around. No one asks him who he is. They don't wonder what he's doing there. They don't, you cannot have effective security if everyone in the org or the country is not part of it. So you need those elite people that know how to, take over any piece of hardware or software. But if you just have a few of them, you're still going to have problems. You need everyone involved to be looking out and saying, that's weird. That's not right. Like, what's going on there? What can I do about that? How can I, engage someone else who has the skills to deal with this? And that's something that, I think it's starting very slowly to happen, but that's something else we need to have happen faster is even if you're not going into a cybersecurity career, you need to realize that you bring a lot to the fight, that everyone's in this together, and even a small amount of skill can be extremely valuable.
Yeah, I agree. So prior to what you were saying before, Brett, I was actually under the impression that, I think I'm like a lot of people who are like, back in the day, I used to post crap about political stuff online, and I'd get really angry and into these long debates. And we used to joke that during, these conversations, oh, I'm getting put on a list for saying this, right? And it always seemed to me that I would need a security clearance in order to become an effective cyber warrior. You're saying it's the opposite. That's to me, it's just like it seems like there would be it seems counterintuitive, and so it's a good thing to know that anybody can actually get in on this.
Yeah, and again, when you have a security clearance, your government is making it so that you cannot even see the weapons that were stolen from your government, and what's going to be used against you. If you do, they're going to revoke your ticket, which is, again, that's just dumb. Why waste the time? Until Uncle Sam gets smart, then, let him suffer. Well, we need to save ourselves.
Yeah. Other than becoming so let's just talk a little bit about beyond education. So we've talked a lot about how the cyber warfare range can actually educate people. What do people go on and do with that knowledge afterwards? I mean, do they show up for a cyber warfare night, or do they become part of a brigade, or I don't know what they would become part of, but What do they do? And are there are there job opportunities for people afterwards as well?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to report that we went from 100% unemployed people there to now it's 100% employment. In fact, I have 30 open job recs for people that are entry level, mildly capable, and they're ready to get started. Those people are currently about 2 to 3 years away from a 6-figure income. So that's the kind of opportunity that's out there.
So when people are saying there's no jobs available, it doesn't sound like they're taking this into account. Is this available almost everywhere, or just in certain places like where you have a cyber warfare range?
So Arizona is the recognized leader in the country. So U.S. Homeland Security has said these guys in Arizona, they're the only ones that have got this right, and that's been recently validated by Johns Hopkins University. They conducted a massive study and said there is nobody anywhere near like it. But what makes the cyber warfare range successful is not just us at the cyber warfare range. You've got a guy that's sitting here in our participants. Elio is one of the few people that are here in Arizona that are helping to make all of Arizona amazing and awesome and work together and collaborate and be successful. So we have so many people here in Arizona that have made us the leading edge recognized in the country, and it's because of people like Elio, it's because of people like David Hernandez, it's because of people like our dedicated range recruiters. So if you want to get a job, we actually have a recruiter, and her job is to get you a job. She doesn't do anything else. So that's Rachel Harpley with Little Bits. She's a fantastic, Lucky Bits. She's a fantastic person, and she has helped all of our people. How do I write a resume? How do I do job interview skills? How do I negotiate a salary? She is there and focused on getting our people into the workforce so that they can be effective. And so we have all the wonderful problems that you can hope by creating something like this, but it's not just us. It is the team of people that are so good and so friendly that they're the kind of friends that don't ask you, why'd you kill them? They ask you, where do you want to hide the body?
That's a very effective model, I think, because somebody can get involved in that at any point in their education until they're done with college. But it sounds to me like what you have is an opportunity for somebody who's just fresh out of college trying to find a career in maybe they were thinking about web development or something as boring as my job, right? and you're saying that there's actually a free extended education program for them if they could just show up, and that you have, in fact, career placement. You have everything that a normal university would have, yet you also have 100% job placement as well.
Yeah, like I said, I truly, truly am grateful for the problems that we have, because all of my problems are awesome. The bottom line is we have a group of people that have their heads on straight, that are not ruled by their egos or overzealous commercial greed. These are people who are willing to raise the level of the ocean so that all boats higher and faster. And as a direct result, I've had the privilege of meeting these people and getting to work with them on a daily basis. And as a direct result, Arizona is head and shoulders ahead of every other entity in every other state, despite the hundreds of millions of dollars that are expended every year to try to do the same thing. We are succeeding where everyone else is failing.
Is anything really getting better? I know this is an unfair question to ask, but we have hacks almost every day in the news. I get a report every once in a while from haveibeenpwned.com and stuff like that. It seems to me like the hacks are getting worse. And it does seem, but yet you're saying, things are getting better on your end. When do you expect it to sort of pay off and us to see less hacks in the media, or is that just going to be a fact of life from now on?
Well, it's going to always be a fact of life. There are too many countries that have made an absolute killing stealing everything of ours. But the fact is we already have a number of staggering successes. And one of the things that you mentioned, I'd like to just kind of expand the audience there, because this is not just college kids, right? So we're training senior citizens to do hacking and all of these other things. All the way down to if you're an infant that can type and retain knowledge, I will train you, right? So it's literally anyone, and we don't have the luxury of picking who are our cyber warriors of the future. We just need people who are so motivated, and we need you to come engage with us, and we'll make you a weapon. We'll make you as smart as you want to become. We don't have any limitations. There is no place to hand you off because other than a job, because there is no other place that can teach you more than we can.
Are there any prerequisites that somebody would need to have? Like you said, you'd take an infant that could retain knowledge. Does that mean you'll teach basic computing, like you'll teach people how to use an operating system, and then from there you'll teach them how to program? From there you'll teach them, whatever they need to know? Is there any minimum skill set that somebody would need before they come to you?
There is no minimum skill set. We want you, the people who have been either excluded or not empowered, we want you to come to visit us. There's a reason why we don't advertise. The reason why we don't advertise is I don't want people who just want to be rich. What I want is people who are willing to put the shoulder to the wheel to help protect this country. So if you're one of those people, I don't care what your training is. I don't care what your station in life is. I don't care how old you are. We want you to come help us, and let's all work together. And everybody else, go pound sand.
What would you say to somebody who would forego college and after high school come straight to you, or even maybe while they're in high school come to you, but then forego college in order to get an education entirely from you for free and then get job placement at the end of it?
So this is something that Peter Thiel and I agree on, and that is that the academic institutions have largely failed us all, and while failing us, have caused our children to graduate with mortgage-level debt. So not only they're not really educated, but they're now structurally poor as a direct result of the greed of these institutions, which could give away free education because they already have all the money they need to operate. So I would say to you that there are a lot of reasons why you might go to college. Don't forget the little brains still run the world, right? But there are many, many reasons why we can help you be successful. So if college is not your thing, we absolutely can make it so that you will be a wealthy, non-college degreed person.
Yeah, that's the best deal I've heard on this show so far, if not the best deal I've ever heard. You're offering a free education for somebody that doesn't even understand how to use a computer for any age group, as long as you can type and you can, or even if you don't even have hands to type, as long as you can put input into a computer and you can retain information, you will train somebody all the way to the point that they will have a career.
We urgently need anyone who is so motivated, because we're counting on your motivation to get you through everything. So again, this is organic learning. This is peer-based learning. So that means you have to be motivated to acquire the knowledge. We're not going to put you in a classroom. We're not going to drone on at you. We're not going to give you a stupid test at the end. What we're interested in is finding those people that care. We have a young man who is the son of 2 illegal immigrants. He's here illegally in this country. But he's a patriot, and therefore I want him in the fight. Politics aside, and if you think politics just changed your mind about our range, please stay the hell away from me. But the bottom line is we are very interested in finding those people who are willing to help us save our country. Everybody else, enjoy the ride.
Wow. Well, I think there's a lot of people here who should take advantage of this, if not just at least consider it. So you're in Arizona. And is that out of Phoenix, or you said Mesa, I think?
Yeah, that's correct. We are currently in Mesa. We are located in a classified facility. However, the range itself is not classified. We're in the former Air Force Research Labs, and the way I like to describe it to people is we are a unicorn living inside of another unicorn. So the facility itself there's nothing like it in the world, but there's also nothing like us in the world. So the 2 unicorns are working together. Amazing, awesome rainbows happen as a result.
How does your program differ from, say, somebody getting a free education on the internet? I've seen a few things that can give you sort of, I'm presuming you have more one-on-one. You can talk to people at the range and get feedback. What separates your program from just a free education from the internet?
The two things that I would point to would be that a lot of the other ranges that you see, because this is not the only range, but it's the only effective range. And a lot of the others are all trying to sandbox or simulate. And so anytime you try to do that, there's always a lag. And security moves very quickly. It changes, sometimes day to day, minute to minute. And if you're trying to simulate, you're going to have a new attack come out. And then whoever's writing that simulator is going to have to go ahead and then try to incorporate that attack. But as a simulation, it'll never be the same thing as actually doing the attack on that hardware. It'll always be missing something. It'll always not fully mirror. Like doing full-on simulation, if you've done any work with emulators, if you look at some of the old video game console emulators, they have to actually not just emulate the standard instructions, they have to go ahead and try to emulate like bugs and flaws in the chip or the software doesn't run right. So it gets very complicated, and these other ranges are trying to play around and make it like a video game. And so they're always lagging, and you never get in that mindset. You're kind of stuck more in that scholastic mindset of, okay, what's on the test? What do I need to do to pass the test? And that's I'd say almost the antithesis to the hacker mindset, which is, I got this neat little thing here. How can I mess with this? How can I get this to do what I want it to do? Not what it's designed to do right now. I want to make it do something brand new that no one ever thought it could do. So as a very minor example, we have to watch how much concrete stuff we say on here, but there was a paper that was just published on exfiltration of data. And so, by your webcam, there's a little light up there. There's usually lots of little lights in your computer. Well, if you can blink that light, you can encode information. I mean, this is how a modem, this is how lots of stuff works. And so you can actually, if you can't connect to the computer directly, if you can get a virus on a computer that's air-gapped, you can blink the light a whole bunch, and you can then view that with a camera or some other sensor that can detect that change, and you can use a light to transmit information. It was never designed to do that. It's just a little status indicator, but you can turn it into a communications channel. So that's an example of that hacker mindset. Take something that was never designed, never intended to do what you have it do, and then make it do something, and then make it do something else, and just keep seeing how far you can push it. And it's really, that mindset is really helpful, not just in security, but that's the heart of innovation. Anyone who wants to work in Silicon Valley or work at a tech company, that's the mindset you spend all of your time in, is how do we do this insane thing and no one thought was possible? I don't know. Let's see what the pieces are. Let's see how we can put them together, and let's make it happen. So,
Brett, before we go into the section for our audience to ask you some questions, is there anything else that you feel like we didn't touch on enough and you'd like to circle back and talk about a little more?
Well, guys, most of you have already been affected by cybercrime, probably already pretty badly, but you've seen nothing. The frequency of cyber attacks and the severity of them are getting much faster frequency and much more severe in impact. We absolutely already see that. I can say that a lot of people have concerns about privacy. There are many reasons to be concerned about that, but in the end, you have the opportunity, because most people in cybersecurity are really bad at cybersecurity. You can learn, you can come from nowhere and very easily eclipse all the, big air quotes, industry experts. So there has never been a greater opportunity than right now to jump in, engage, and benefit from not only a country standpoint, but on a personal level as well.
We have our first question from, I think, I'm going to guess they're some of the folks that you warned me about.
I can
guarantee. Let me assure you. Let me assure you that the cyber warfare page people, when they found out I was here, you can expect 100% trolling. I'm sure there will be a lot of exciting and drama and all that good stuff. But I love you guys. You're welcome to troll us all, and thanks for not knocking us off the internet so we can talk.
Yeah, we were talking earlier of whether or not my terms of service even allow Brett to be an audience member or a guest. I mean, okay. So the first question seems kind of interesting to me. What do you do to an insider threat at the range?
Well, we have a pretty exciting life. We have actual real life spies there all the time. In fact, a few weeks ago, we actually had more spies in the range than we had people trying to learn, which was quite funny. But we are the only place that will allow you to learn how to deal with a spy. We deal with insider threat all the time. And one of our agencies sent a red team to us, and they did not come like gentlemen, they came like thieves. And as a direct result, it was, to us, a great opportunity to deal with and to train and generate material around how do you deal with a nation-state insider threat that we literally let them walk in the door. And what we did was we had a lot of fun. The bottom line is we're better hackers than those guys. And as a direct result, we're not afraid of them. So come down, enjoy the hijinks. We have a lot of laughs. It's a lot like watching a slapstick comedy to see how these people operate. So come in and enjoy. We deal with insider threat all the time, but we're good at what we do. And there are many who have tried. I actually have two nation-sponsored bad guy hackers that are spending quality time with us at the range. And what's funny is, until now, they think we don't know, and we absolutely do. So, hi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Shh, you're going to scare them away again. It's
I
already
know.
happened a few times.
I keep doing that, and I keep getting sad because they keep sending uglier and uglier people. If you're a country that wants to spy on us, here's a pro tip. Send us beautiful people. You'll get way further.
So, I had a question for you, which was, shoot. Oh, right. So, let's go back to, because I'm not sure if I can, give up my entire career at this point and switch over to becoming a cyber warrior at this point, but who knows what's in my future. But let's just say that I do have a sense of duty and I'd like to contribute. And we talked a little bit about the weekend warrior idea. Are there like bowling leagues, bowling teams, for cyber warriors? Like, is there a team I could join and it's for, newbies who want to actually make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can connect you with all of those things. We generally have not wasted our time at hacking competitions because they're really kind of a joke. Every once in a while, some institution will piss us off and we'll go ruin their event. That's just because, if you're going to be a dick, expect us to be dicks in return. But we are connected to literally everything that's going on. So it's very easy to find a mini place, and we're happy to connect you with them. We run exercises. We have our own teams. We have lots of projects. We have over 500 projects going on. So no matter what you're interested, you're probably going to find a place and a home through the CyberWarp Range for it.
That's excellent. I'm at a loss for more questions here. I feel like I'd like you to talk some more about the things that you are interested in this stuff. Elio's put down a couple of notes here, but I'm not exactly sure what they mean. Maybe you could, elaborate.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, but the new toy we recently got over there, I've been fascinated by that. Are we allowed to share that?
Are you talking about our SCADA lab?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so we get to play with destroying power plants and water and chemical plants. It's a lot of fun now.
Yeah.
So we bring in, put it this way, we love hacking things. We'll hack literally anything we can get our grubby paws on. So fortunately for us, there's a company that's a startup that actually brought their technology along with a full SCADA lab. SCADA, if you don't know, is control systems for things like a power plant or a water plant or a chemical plant. They brought in labs for us, and then they basically very bravely said, would you please beat the living tar out of this and tell us what you find so that we can make our product related to this better? And so they are champions. They brought us this beautiful thing that they had just invented, and we literally destroyed it, left it smoking. And as a direct result, their response was, you guys have helped us advance our product innovation faster than we have done since the inception of this company. Thank you so much. Again, we keep secrets. You're never going to see our people sitting at some stupid con going, oh, here's how I beat this, right? We're not out there to brag. What we are out there to do is we're out to make change, positive change. So this is a company that is trying to help us secure our SCADA infrastructure countrywide. If you don't have what they're trying to do, then it is so easy that literally a baby could bring down a power plant. It's not hard. And for those of you who are out there and are going to call me to the mat on that, dude, come on down and let me show you. Let's not argue. But the bottom line is they bring us these toys. We have lots of fun with them. We beat them to death. And then we give them information on what they can do to improve the quality. And if they don't have the technical talent to improve the quality, we can have people that are at the range that will help them do it. In this case, they have the talent. They just needed the incredibly devious mindset of us and how we think about attacking stuff to help them see vulnerabilities in their technology that they had not seen before. So thank goodness we still have companies that are in this country that are actually trying to say, we're not just going to sit there and go, blah, 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 we're great, buy our stuff, but are actually willing to put their stuff on the line, are kicked in the face, and then try to get better at what they do. Thank goodness for those people.
Is that a commercial service or is that a free service?
So it's free to companies because we like hacking things, so it's nice to get more victims, right? But if you want to take us out and advertise that, or you want us to show up in a courtroom, or you want it's a formal result, then we're going to have to run it as a commercial project, in which case you're going to be paying some money for that.
Sure. That's awesome. So I do have a couple of questions that I wasn't sure if they were real questions or not, but they're telling me that I definitely have to ask you. It sounds like inside jokes. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, there's several commenters that I'm pretty sure. Dude, guys, come on, we just did the OPSEC thing.
So Brett,
having fun. But I'm pretty sure
Brett,
exactly who three of them are.
Brett, do you like fairies?
Of course I do. I certainly do, and I even have my own rainbow-colored crown that I wear. So, yeah, I'm a pretty princess, too.
There is a picture. I do not have it handy.
There are lots of pictures. Sadly, when I had that crown on and everybody was taking a picture, I was like, my God, there are like 30 copies of this photograph I'm going to have to go find.
Real Lasers wanted me to just say his name. Apparently, that's a joke, too.
No, the way he's asking about IoT stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask that.
He's got something more specific in mind.
There's some
sad news about that, but anyway.
Yeah, they're wanting me to ask you about IoT toys or IoT hacking. What do you know about it?
and here's where the show goes from PG.
Oh my! I think I know what I just walked into.
Things were going so well.
Oh man!
Yeah, things were going so well.
Oh my gosh! I never thought of the implications.
Yeah. One of our favorite victims is ISIS. So just to say, we're going to be using sex toys to fuck ISIS.
Oh my gosh! As soon as my brain made the connections, I was like, oh wow. Okay, and then of course my brain went.
You're in the deep part of the well, and then they show you the deeper part of the well. So there you go.
And now, of course, my brain's trying to think of what are the actual attack vectors here. Like, what could you do with one of these things? And I don't know if we want to really.
So many wonderful things.
We have switched all of their patterns to the least pleasurable pattern. They are all very frustrated now.
So there's some interesting stuff there actually legally, but strangely enough, it's not even that. It's just, you remember the Mirai attack that happened, the Dyn attack earlier in the year. That was just little webcams. Those things don't have much processing power. And so it's the exact same thing. If you make an IoT connected vibrator, it has plenty of processing power to, get enough of those together and you can overwhelm a large target. So it's not even, the person using it. You can be the person, the owner of the device, and you can actually intentionally participate and help take out hostile targets by just kind of sharing out some of the processing power in the device.
Is it a matter of
hacking mindset?
Speaking of the Mirai and the nature of that particular attack being was it millions of different webcams or something like that? Given the nature of that, is the skill gap really the problem there? Like, could we just throw more people at that problem, or is that like I think Elio's talked in the past? Is that sort of a technological engineering issue with the fundamental design of the internet?
Now, there are some structural problems with the internet, but the bottom line is there's so few people that actually know what the heck is going on. They just make stuff, and it's kind of like taking 5-year-olds and giving them keys to the Ferrari. They probably semantically understand how to drive, but they're probably going to crash that thing. And that's exactly what's happening is we have people that are just simply lacking the knowledge and the ability to do things securely. It's not that this stuff hasn't been talked about. I mean, my goodness, people have been warning about cars and automated cars and how easily they are to hack for years and years and years. Suddenly people start hacking them for real, and they're like, oh my God, what happened? And it's not a shock. If you had a pulse and you were not in a coma, you know that there are problems out there. The problem is most of these people have no idea how to secure it. And that's also true of a lot of cybersecurity, big air quotes, professionals. They also have these sort of romantic ideas, well, you should do this, but they actually have no idea whether that even works or even how to make that happen in the first place.
Putin Daddies, which I think is one of your friends, he's asking a question, but I'd like to expand the question just a little bit. He asked a rhetorical question to you and to a lot of people, I think, which is Tor secure? However, I don't know if it's really that rhetorical, and so the obvious answer is no, it's not, and we can go into why it's not. But are there any other sort of, if you will, security myths out there that common people use? And can you de-pants a lot of people right now and tell them which technologies they're relying on for security that don't really work?
My favorite one, just use a firewall. That solves everything, like in the movies.
So, like, for instance, we
can both literally and figuratively pants you. Yeah, we would both enjoy pantsing you for real, but we can also virtually pants you with pleasure. So when you're talking about cybersecurity, it is always within the context of secure from whom, all right?
Yeah.
So all things being relative, all countries are essentially becoming surveillance state-like. Some are absolutely there. Others aspire to be there. So the question really becomes, what are you trying to be safe from? And then based on the answer to that question, you have a whole bunch of different answers because there are different things that you need to avoid. There are different techniques you need to employ. So the bottom line is if man can make it, man can break it. But in the end, there are many ways to actually secure stuff from the people you don't want them to take advantage of and still provide access to the people that you do.
So there's no general solution for everything. It's going to be on an application-by-application basis.
Well, don't forget that I live in a world where there is no such thing as security. But for the most of the people that are operating out there, there is lots of available security that's out there. So there are things like VPNs, there are things like, firewalls and malware and antivirus and all these other toys that are going to help you stay above most of the danger and out of most of the noise. So a lot of these technologies are out there and they are worth using, but you have to also understand that when a guy like me wants to get it, all of your toys are not going to stop my tank.
So let's talk a little bit about because what I'd like to finish off with is whether or not you have some good resources for people other than obviously your cyber warfare range. But before we do that, I was going to ask you some more about what kind of different occupations that people can get into. So, the cyber warrior seems kind of vague or intentionally vague because there's a lot of different places you can go with that. Do companies need this, or is it that state level people need these kinds of people? Is it all of the above? Is there some other sort of position, like just a generic internet police officer, if you will, so generic internet warrior, if you will? What do you get into as far as a career, and what's the pay like?
All of those things. There are so many different aspects. I mean, cybersecurity is like e-commerce. Like, we all generally understand what's going on with e-commerce, but the term itself does not accurately define the world. So cybersecurity has many different roles and many different parts to it that all people can make careers out of contributing in their element. So there are lots of ways to win quickly. So, for example, companies can use competent security providers. So I happen to work for a big old company, $40 billion company called Tech Data. And Tech Data has a product called Recon. So if you're a big company and you have accepted the fact that you probably are not smart or wealthy enough to get the talent to come work for you, you can actually come use the talent that Tech Data has been able to accomplish and retain, and have them help watch your network for you. And you're going to pay almost nothing to do that. But again, there are quick steps that companies and people and governments can do to get ahead very quickly, because again, this all centers on the skills gap. There are so few people that are actually competent cyber wars. There are so many people out there with their mouths wide open, speaking and yelling, I'm a cybersecurity guy. I spoke at this one con this one time, and that's what makes me an expert. We have a lot of really capable cyber warriors. That is the big problem. That's why you have things out there called AI, artificial intelligence. Oh, you can't find people, so we're going to make programs do the work, right? They're about 10 years off from being successful, I think. But the bottom line is that there are ways that companies can get over these significant blocks because other folks have figured out innovative solutions to these problems. But as far as careers go, there are foot soldiers. There are guys like me that like to stab people and kill them. There are other people that need to coordinate and help deal with cyber response. That's more of a managerial and logistical. There are the C-level people that need to understand I shouldn't push my people to release bad products because that's just going to bite me and I might lose my whole company. There are lots of different roles that can be played, and it's not. I favor and love the technician because this is where I live, but the bottom line is there are many, many roles that everyone can play. And some of that is as simple as don't click on that stupid link, even though it's directly in the interest that you put on your social media.
So, I mean, it sounds like, I guess my real question was, when you said you were giving us sort of a call to arms earlier, right? And you're saying that
Yep.
the time to act is now. And we need to get these people in here to fill that skill gap. If somebody does become the security person at a commercial company, is that part of filling that gap, or is there? What I guess my question was: is there a more proactive, offensive, sort of a role that would be more important than just the defensive role of keeping a company's, interests intact?
So we need lots of people who are competent to come and help out our companies and our organizations, our churches, our whatever. We need lots of people to come in and help be defenders. If you want to be on the offensive side of things, there are limited options. There's hacktivism, but that's putting you at great risk. But there is work that you can do with the military intelligence and national law enforcement, like the FBI, that you might get to be a little bit more creative because sometimes they need that. But again, that's the kind of thing that if you are actually interested in those things, we can talk you through it. I mean, we have lots of people that come in and say, oh, I'd like to work for a certain intelligence agency. And we say, okay, well, this is what it's like when you work for them. And they say, well, gosh, that's not for me. Where can I work where it's kind of like this? And we say, well, that might be with these guys. And so we help guide you to your place of bliss, because not only do we need you to be competent, we need you to be happy, right? If you're happy, you're going to be better at your job. And frankly, we need that too. So we are just simply trying to fuse all of that information, all that knowledge together to get you to the happy home that you were built for, where that's your purpose in life. And so it's all of those things, but it requires a discussion, a dialogue to get you there.
This question comes from Putin Daddies, and it's a good question. So, what's your thoughts on the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act?
Yeah, so the CFAA is one of those things that was made in the 80s by people that had no idea what guys like me were doing in the 80s. But there was a big scary thing that made them mad, and so they made a law, and that's the baseball bat that's being used against most of our hackers these days. a lot of legislators come and ask me, well, what can we do to improve the laws? And my first response is to say, oh, please, God, don't try to fix it, because you guys suck at everything. And every time you go to, quote unquote, help the situation, you make it 10 times worse. So the best thing you could do is to stop doing stuff related to stuff you don't know about, which is basically everything, but certainly in this computer world. But things like the CFAA, there are a whole lot of prosecutors out there that smugly think, oh, that's great, I'm prosecuting the bad guys because they did this one thing that nobody likes, and da-da-da. Honestly, those people should take up more extreme sports. I would like to see them jump out of an airplane without a parachute. But the bottom line is, we really need people to maturely look at this problem and understand the real consequences of bad decisions we've made in the past. And I don't think it's very possible right now have a good, honest dialogue that allows people to say, okay, so when a 12-year-old boy who's angry at his teacher, who wrote his stupid administrative password on the dry erase board for the class, when he goes to that teacher's computer and puts a gay-themed I hate my teacher picture, don't try to put that kid in jail. You should be sending him to the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range, where we can say, you can have that kind of fun. And Putin guy is one of those guys that I would happily give you access to his computer. You can put that stuff anywhere you want. We want you to channel that energy, right? Bring that energy to us where it's legal and you can learn these critical skills, because we are the only place that you can learn all of those things and still be a good guy at the end.
You had just said, please don't try to fix it, but we had a previous guest on here who was a cybersecurity attorney, and he was explaining the CFAA as in simple terms, if you try to access anything that you're not supposed to access, it's a federal felony. And the thing I guess what we had come to the compromise of was, is it possible to just add a level of misdemeanor to that? So this way, if somebody does change, say their teacher's computer's, background or something like that, that there's a level of offense there that under reasonable conditions, a judge could just throw it out and say, we're not going to slap this on a kid. Why don't we send him to the warfare range? Something like that. Heck, it could even be a legal compromise, right? Either go to juvie or go to the warfare range, right? But in the end, do you think that it could be fixed that way?
I would hate that people would be sent to my range with a club behind them or a gun at their back. I'll give you another example that I think also helps illustrate the problem. So there was a guy in Florida saw a street sign, those road signs that say blah, 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 turn left, or those kind of things. That guy looked on the internet and he realized that most of those signs have a default password from the manufacturer, and that most people that operate those signs don't change the default password. So what does he do? He stops his car, finds the lock, the not locked on the device. What does he do with that? Well, I can tell you that with that kind of access, I can use that to cause people to lose their lives. I can get people killed with that access. What this gentleman decided to do was to make something funny, and he said, "Stay safe, y'all." That's what he did. That was his crime. Right. Now, they went after that guy. They did not go after the company that manufactures a product that I can use to kill people, that uses a stupid default password that's published on the internet and not change that password. They don't fault the entity, the city entity that bought that thing and put it on the street with the default password. They don't go after those people. Those people are the criminals. Those are the people that actually put people's lives at risk. They went after the messenger. They went after the guy that simply says, "Ha, your pants are down. Look at you." And that's exactly the problem. We have to get out of this mindset. Now, I'm not saying everybody go commit crimes and all criminals should be let off and, all that other stuff. And again, if you're the one of those people ranting about that right now, again, there are lots of tall objects nearby. Jump off of one of them. What I'm saying is that we have to maturely approach the problem. We have to create outlets for people to come and learn these things. And when we do so, they're not going to have to go out there and make everybody else look like an idiot. When there's an outlet, you are not going to have the magnitude of the problem. And then secondary to that, when people get overly creative or a little just, let passion rule them, you can't try to ruin people's lives for doing something like making a funny rainbow picture of your teacher, or saying to everybody, "Stay safe, y'all," on a road sign that was unprotected, right? Those are obviously not a crime that hurts people. So wake up, stop being an idiot, and approach the problem maturely.
You touched on something, and I was hoping you could speak more about it. So you said you don't want somebody who has a gun to their back to come in there. You don't want anybody forced into learning what you want to teach. And also, before you had said that you don't care what anyone's education level is, and you don't care how old they are. You just really want the will to be there to learn this stuff. And it sounds to me like, the will to learn this stuff is paramount to you. Can you just speak a little bit about why that's so important?
Well, there are so many people that are in this audience right now that have already discounted themselves and saying, well, I'll never be that good. I'll never qualify to be there. So let's just assume that I get to see a lot of trades-related people, say, for example, drivers for a company that if I order them on a mobile phone, they'll come take me from where I am to a place that I want to go, right? I speak to these drivers quite a lot. And most of them, when I tell them about the cyber warfare range, they say, oh, well, I'll never be that smart. I drive a car for a living. And yet, ironically, a statistically large number of them do more for their own cybersecurity than a lot of the cybersecurity professionals, again, big air quotes, that I meet. And so when I find out what they're doing, I'm like, my God, you're already there. Like, you are literally better than most cybersecurity, quote unquote, professionals. You should come help yourself at the cyber warfare range. So there are so many people that think that this is bigger than it is. And again, most quote unquote professionals are so bad that if they were in any other profession, they would be put in jail for negligence. That's how bad they are. They're stupid. So you, the person that wants to be there but thinks you don't qualify, trust me, it's not going to take very long for you to go way past those quote unquote experts and be the expert. And as a direct result, you're lifting us all. You're raising the standard. You're raising the expectations that companies can have for professionalism and competence being the most important thing. Capable cyber warriors. So please don't be your own Satan. Let yourself go. Come visit us. If this is something that excites you and you are inflamed in passion, then there is no reason for you to not engage with us. Please do so.
If somebody does come to the cyber warfare range, is their computer covered under the CFAA, or does by simply showing up, does that give everybody a license to get into your computer?
So thankfully, we do have innovators within the government. So we have some very forward-thinking people in the FBI that are here in Arizona, Department of Justice. A lot of these folks, we've had an opportunity to have relationships with and talk with them. And they understand that when we make our computers available to be attacked, not only are people learning critical skill sets that they wish they could find, but they are confident we have the ability to keep the wrong people out and let the right people in. And as a direct result of that overall confidence in our abilities, they will go to bat for us or for any hacker. So if you are a hacker that is hacking us, the cyber warfare range, if you're hacking someone else, you're on your own. But if you're hacking us and anyone is giving you trouble, please reach out to me, and I am happy to ruin that person's life. Please do not let the little brain stop you.
My question's a little more specific. My question is that if I bring my computer and it has all my embarrassing internet history on it, and I'm just one of those people who doesn't clear my history like I should, right? And I show up at the cyber warfare range, do I have to worry about other students there hacking into my laptop without my consent? Or is my laptop still covered under the CFAA and you guys aren't allowed to get into it without my consent?
Well, rather than rely on some stupid thing that's written on paper, it's real simple. We want the cyber warfare range to be a safe place for people to learn. So if you come to be malicious against our other users, you are pissing off us, the capable hackers. Trust me, that's not going to be a good idea. And we will make sure that you understand that that's out of bounds. So we have a Wi-Fi network, we have a computer network. That is a safe place to operate. And if anyone's making it unsafe, we're making them unsafer. Let's just put it that way.
Excellent. That's great to know. Okay, I have a couple more questions I want to make sure I get in because they're good questions. First is about net neutrality, and do you have any sort of any thoughts on net neutrality since it's a big hot item in the news?
I cannot emphasize enough how important net neutrality is. The net neutrality is what made the internet successful. You might say, well, gosh, if it made it so successful, why are they changing it? And there are lots of talking heads that say this is why it has to change. All of those people suck, and all of those people do not have your interests in mind. They have their own interests in mind. Net neutrality is what has made the most powerful communications network in the world successful. And there are lots and lots of greedy idiots that want to stop that or control it. If you give control to those little brains, all of us suffer. So net neutrality is not a game. A lot of people talk about business interests and things like that. I'm a capitalist. Don't get me wrong. I'm no hippie. I'm operating a 501c3, but I am a capitalist through and through. But that does not mean that whatever a business person says is truth. We absolutely have to have a free and open internet. If we do not, we will suffer profoundly. The same thing that has liberated so many people in this world will become yet another tool of oppression. And anyone that fights against net neutrality is literally, they are the stormtroopers, they are the Sith, they are the wrong people, and they need to stay the hell away from our internet. It is ours. We paid for it. It's our internet, not theirs. We should not give it to them.
Are there security implications to the net neutrality argument?
Well, there are, yes. So there are a lot of ways that if the people who are against net neutrality get control, like many things, those become the new highways for destroying the city that they are trying to protect. A free and open internet is much harder to control. It's much harder to organize against us. And so as a direct result of the chaos of the free and open internet, we are safer. There are so many forces out there that want to use this wonderful tool, this wonderful platform, and they want to use it to hurt people on a prolific scale. Those people suck. I certainly hope that they get ass cancer and die quickly.
You have a lot of creative ways of telling people where they can go. Okay, so
there are so many enemies of the internet.
A lot of them happen to involve gravity, I've noticed. Okay, so we have a couple more questions, which are really good. The first is, do you consider hacktivism to be a criminal act? And I think you touched a little bit about it, but I mean, that's sort of a touchy subject, right? Because there's certain people and they consider hacktivists to be traitors, right? And yet other people that consider them to be heroes without, going into the politics or trying to get, your, personal opinions out of this. Do you just consider it to be technically a criminal act? And if it is, how do we deal with that? And also, how do you, is that something that you would tell suggest that a person doesn't do? Or is it something you would push them away from?
Well, hacktivism is always a crime to somebody. That's not to say that the somebody that is considering it to be a crime doesn't richly deserve the punishment that they're enduring, right? There's a little runt over in North Korea that is running that country and is trying to destroy the world because he's such a megalomaniac turd that desperately needs an ass kicking pretty much every day of the week. But when you attack a North Korean, you are actually committing a crime. And so that's a risk to you and is, generally speaking, not worth the risk. So I would say to you that hacktivism, there are lots of ways that I understand what the people are doing. You also have to accept the reality, and that is when you're doing that, it's a crime to somebody, and you may suffer as a result of that.
So with Snowden, do you see him as somebody who's basically sleeping in the bed he made?
If a Snowden had gone to France, not only is that a non-extradite country, he would have been revered as a hero, and all of the traction that he got, he would have been able to get with the European press. They would have eaten it up, and they'd still be beating the drum, and they'd probably get parades and all the wonderful people that want to love him in every way he wants. He did not go to France. He went to China, and then he went to Russia. As a direct result of where he went, a perceivably unarguable noble act became an act of traitorism. He did not go to our friends to make us look bad. He went to our enemies to hurt us, and people died because of that idiot. And he knew what he was doing. He knew he could go to France. He didn't go to China because he felt that would be the safe place. If you're a bad guy and you're in the United States, you can go to France and they will not extradite you back. So the bottom line is, he knew what he was doing, which means it wasn't a careless act of omission. It was a careful act of deliberate to go to our enemies with what he went with. So that changed him from hero to traitor.
That's a very new opinion. I haven't heard that argument made before. I thought that his choice of country was that it wasn't his choice. Like he was just happened to get dumped there. But you're saying it was a proactive choice.
He got dumped in Russia, but he originally flew to China.
Right. And so I thought that it was impossible for him to get somewhere like France.
Well, Hawaii still has flights that go there all the time.
So, all right. So definitely you believe that Snowden's sleeping in the bed that he made. So, how about a question from Ionic Wake? He was just to go back one step to the net neutrality conversation. Is there anything, because you had said earlier that we can't rely on our elected representatives to help us out in these situations, is there anything that we as users, or perhaps as a cyber warrior, is there anything that we could do as people to help net neutrality? Because it sounds to me like every time I ask this question, people immediately point me to one of those websites that will help me contact my local representatives, and I get into that same cycle all the time. Is there any way to break that cycle by being the change?
Well, you already have an incredibly powerful weapon, which is your vote. So those people who do not support net neutrality, or who do not come in and fight and defend net neutrality, fire them by not voting for them. It's that simple. If these people lose their job, which is the only precious thing that they care about, others will get an idea real quickly that if you take away our free and open internet, you're going to lose your damn job. And bless you for being an idiot, right? There's plenty of opportunity there for people who know what they're doing. So let's get the people that don't know what they're doing out. So yeah, you can obviously support, you can obviously lobby and phone call and things like that, but nothing speaks more clearly to a politician than, if you ruin my free internet, I will fire you. They get that loud and clear every time.
Do you think it's even worth the phone call to threaten them with losing your vote, or do you think it's not even worth it? You might as well just go to the polls and make your phone call there.
It depends on whether or not you want to fight like a gentleman and a lady. Sometimes when you tell them, if you don't stop, I'm going to punch you in the face, that's the polite thing to do. But the fact is that only after they get punched in the face will they start listening.
Right. So I think the answer is then threaten them and then follow through.
That's exactly right.
Excellent. All right, we have a couple of joke questions, I think. I'm not sure if they're.
I'm terribly surprised.
But your buddies say that you talk a lot about little brains, and I don't know what a little brain is, so you're gonna have to explain that. Maybe I'm a little brain because I don't know what a little brain is. But he said they're asking, what do you do with them?
Well, they rule the earth. There are more of them than there are of us. So the bottom line is you're going to have to put up with them. We can't kill them all. Somebody has to drive the car. So the bottom line is you have to deal with people in the context that they're able to understand. And there are just going to be certain folks that are unable to understand the bigger narrative or the bigger picture of what's going on. And instead of yelling and screaming and saying, oh, we hate you because you don't understand, and, I'm the cool kids, and, blah, 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 the bottom line is you work with what you got. What makes a great coach is a person who takes the team that he was given and turns them into champions. Any idiot can take a group of champions and make them champions because they were champions when they came to you. So the bottom line is, when you're dealing with the little brains, you have to understand that there are people that see life differently or are unable to see some of the larger things you're able to see. And because of that, you work with those people. If you want to make change and not just be another idiot making noise, then you figure out how to work with the team you got and be successful with the team you got. Not sit there and yell and scream and cry and be butthurt because you don't have the perfect dream team every time.
They want to know if will you speak about alien experiments?
All right, yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are wondering what we're doing in our classified facility, we are spreading rumors to the pizza drivers that are coming rather frequently that we are in fact not doing cybersecurity, but we are torturing aliens. And so my goal is to get on to the Art Bell show, Art Bell or bust.
That's excellent. Is Art Bell still on the air? I thought somebody else took over Coast to Coast.
I have absolutely no idea. I live on the internet.
You want to make it to Coast to Coast. All right, awesome. So let's see. Let's see. I thought I had one more for you. Oh, right. Okay, so we had talked earlier a little bit about how getting involved in this stuff could, quote unquote, put you on a list. And you said, no, you're definitely on a list, and you don't even want to know what kind of lists you're actually on. Well, if that's the case, are the people at your range profiled by law enforcement or by, say, foreign actors who are trying to get the cream of the crop?
So we have relationships with everybody, especially in our government. That includes law enforcement. But we are not here to be an arm of government. We are not here to serve the government. And we are absolutely not sharing your information with any government entity, period. Unless you're a bad person, no one's ever going to know unless you tell them that you're operating at the range. We're good at keeping secrets. Interesting and ironically enough, every entity on the world is offering me free background checks for all our people, which of course is kind of funny because, our enemies have the honor of trying to steal that. These guys want me to give it to them. The bottom line is we are not here to give your information to anyone else. We're not going to facilitate that, but do also understand by the very nature of your interest, you're already on a watch list. They're already pursuing you in ways that you probably comprehend.
So there's been an ongoing joke through here, and I want to I kind of want to touch on it in a different sort of angle. Okay, so the question is how do you deal with all the autistic folks at the range? Now that's not it's not a very fair question, obviously, but one thing I did want to actually bring up, which is we've had in the past some conversations with other people who are in cybersecurity, and they said that folks with like Asperger and things like that, where social situations are a little iffy for them, they find a great basically the cyber warfare range can be their place. It's a place where those kinds of behaviors are actually to their benefit, right? And also you can help them with getting career placement and stuff like that. So wouldn't you consider that folks that would have been diagnosed with things like autism, wouldn't you consider them to be possibly amongst your greatest draws?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a qualification, but it certainly is an asset. So the bottom line is that people who have the ability to focus and to deal with that, those typically also coordinate with the lack of social skills, which is currently being labeled as a lot of things, but mostly around the autism spectrum. Bottom line is that we deal with everything that you could possibly imagine. And as long as you're not a total dick, we're happy to work with you. If you're a person that no one likes to be around, and even we don't like you, we're going to kick you out. I mean, we've had a couple of failures. We have a couple of butthurt children that just couldn't handle what we were doing, and so we kicked them out. But the bottom line is we are a place of inclusion, and like I said, autism is not a requirement, but it is very beneficial.
That brings us to our next question for sure, which is, what do you do with all the butthurt children?
We kick them out and we make fun of them endlessly, laughing at their failure.
It was your what's his name? Putin Daddy really wanted me to ask that question. Okay.
Yes. Well, he's one of those autistic people. We haven't kicked him out yet, but he is definitely very autistic.
Do you? I think the last joke question is going to be whether or not you like mushrooms on your pizza.
No, they're horrible. I don't know why anybody would do that. Pepperoni, sausage, and extra cheese. What the hell's wrong with you people?
All right. Well, that about wraps up all of my questions for you, and that's all of the questions from the audience. I'd like to talk real quick about resources for anybody who'd like to get into cyber warfare. Obviously, the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range is one resource, and we'll put that that URL up. But are there other resources that people can go in, research, and learn before they get to your range in order to maximize what they can get out of your range?
There are many, and I'd love to turn this question over to Elio because he and David Hernandez are doing an incredible job with the educational establishment. So, Elio, do you feel up to taking that one on?
I need to finish getting the list together with him. I don't have anything ready. The problem is there's a lot of stuff out there, and the bigger problem is not all of it's good. Some of it's really good. It's just like learning to program. There's a ton of sites that say they'll teach you how to program, and only maybe 5% are actually worth wasting your time on. So you know what? I hate to do that, but I kind of want to defer. Let me see. I think I asked him to send me a list. Let me see. I think
while you're picking up while you're figuring out the list, let me just ask the last question
give me a second
for Brett.
To dig that up, and you guys talk.
Brett, they want to know: are you Hillary's 400-pound hacker?
Absolutely not. It's quite funny, but what's ironic is that we actually know what happened in that situation, not because we heard it somewhere, but because we know, because we were there. And the fact is that the DNC and the Hillary campaign faced the same threat that the other guys did, but the other guys had 4 security teams. They were redundant, watched over each other's shoulder, and took cybersecurity seriously. The Hillary campaign basically said, I'm the queen, I'm going to be in office, and nobody's going to touch me anyway. And as a direct result, got pwned, as it would be expected by anyone that is not good at securing their stuff. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, no Russian did it, and the evidence of that is real simple. Every time a Russian commits a crime, they are always happy to admit it. They go out and they stand in front of their new BMW. They tell them everyone their full name, and then most hackers go, why on earth would you ever do that? And the answer is this. Russian hackers want to go work for their government, and the easiest ticket to going to work for the government is to go to jail. So when they commit crimes, they are happy to go out there and admit it because that's their ticket to a government job, one of the few countries where people actually want to work for the government. So how do we know the Russians didn't do it? Because there is no Russian idiot out there in front of a BMW going, I did it. And that's the best evidence I could possibly give you.
It couldn't possibly just be that this time the profile was so high that they maybe after they did it they were like, oh shit, I don't want anybody to find me.
No, when you're a Russian, that is not even on the radar. You want it, and the bigger the hack, the better the paycheck. You absolutely are going to claim credit for that.
Wow. Do you see that the DNC is taking corrective measures based upon this, or has it not really set in as to what happened?
Well, I'm not directly affiliated with either the RNC or the DNC or either campaign. I just was able to know what was going on because I was there observing it, let's just say, because I had the ability to. So I really don't know if them getting punked as bad as they did caused them to make change. But I can tell you we'll certainly find out, because if they didn't get themselves better protected, we're certainly going to see all of their underwear again.
So from now on, I mean, I think it's very clear that in order to just avoid the appearance that you've been hacked during a major campaign, season, I mean, cybersecurity and cyber warfare is going to be it's going to be a necessary part of all politics going forward. Do you see this stuff actually getting down to like the local politics level where every local representative needs to have their own cybersecurity, their own like white hat hacker that keeps them out of trouble?
It's already there. We deal with stuff every day in that specific world. But John Podesta's password was password, for crying out loud. That's in the top 6 failed passwords. And yet that's how seriously they took cybersecurity. These are the people that want to rule your country, and they are so stupid that they use a top 6 password to protect themselves. So again, justice happened, right? We don't have idiots in charge of the country, at least not that bad, as a direct result of their overall failure to embrace the reality. The same will be true of anybody that is doing anything of any position of power. You are a target. You will be victimized. You will be attacked. As a direct result, you either get serious or get embarrassed and lose your job. I don't care which one it is. It's kind of hilarious to see these people fail so badly.
It seems like that's another place where we need to threaten and follow through. You know, we need to tell our local politicians that if they're not serious about cybersecurity in their own offices and, you know, for all citizens, well, then we're just not going to vote for them, because this can happen to them. This could happen locally. You know, it seems to me that it's a terrible thing that you could have a great candidate and maybe they would be great for this country, right? But their lack of security depantses them during what is essentially an opinion-based, you know, contest, you know, and makes them look bad. And then that's it. You know, we're left over with whoever else was in the race, right? That doesn't seem democratic at all. And so it seems, you know, we have a real big problem there. And do you agree that we should threaten our local politicians with not reelecting them unless they're knowledgeable in cybersecurity matters?
Well, I certainly think that's definitely a good guide, but we also have the problem that nobody that in their right mind would actually seek political office. Who wants to guzzle nothing but hatred all the time? Like, who honestly would step up and take a fire hose of hate endlessly? That no reasonable human being does that. Certain folks might say, well, I'm rich enough, I don't have to care. But there are not a lot of those people, and frankly, we can't get those people in local office anyway. So the bottom line is we're going to have to deal with whatever we deal with, and unfortunately, if the environment's too caustic, then we just simply have to go with the least idiotic rather than the best candidate.
Right. Well, that's about it for our show today. Is there anything you'd like to wrap up with before Elio gets into these resources?
I would simply like to say that thank you very much to the range guys that did their best to try on this thing. Love you guys. It was very productive. We really did have to get a lot of great stuff out there. So thank you very much, DC, for all that you've done. Elio, you know I love you. Everything that you guys are doing is helping to make us all a better country, a safer country. And so I am very happy to play my part. But I'm very, very encouraged by the efforts you guys are putting forth. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brett. We really appreciate it. And any time that you'd like to come on here with, you know, a message or anything that you'd like to say to people, you let us know and we'll carve out some time for you, man.
Yeah, we'll see if the FCC doesn't try to arrest me tomorrow.
Or shut our show down for talking to folks like you, right? All right. Well, thank you so much, Brett. Elio, do you have those resources available?
I do. I tried pasting them. Didn't totally work. It stripped a lot of my white space formatting. I sent you those in an email so you can figure out how to most effectively, you know, post those, Twitter, whatever. Sure. So those are the links that I got from the last show, cleaned up a bit. So there's some really good resources there. That's a good starting point. We are working right now to put together kind of a more authoritative list with a bit more stuff, and you know, there's some interesting new stuff coming out that we have not added to that yet. So yeah, we'll work on that. It'll probably be added to the SWCSE site at some point, which is the Southwest Cybersecurity Events site. There's an excellent calendar on there for anyone who's in the state of Arizona. swcsc.com has all of the security events worth going to. And you can actually add that via Google Calendar to your calendar so you don't miss anything. So anyway, so I don't know how you want to put those out there. Like I said, the links are in the chat, but mangled. Thank you again, Brett. Again, the range it's been amazing to watch, even over just the last several kind of years here since I've been involved. As I got going a little later, watching it go from something that was already pretty impressive when I got involved to where it's at now, and just the level of people that have been pulled on in the last, especially I think the last year or two. There was a solid core, and we've got a whole bunch of new people that are really, really doing some cool stuff. So I can't wait to see where it is in another year or two.
Well, thank you so much. Be the change, everybody.
Thank you so much, Brett. All right, everybody. Well, that concludes our talk for our Sunday Tech Talk. Today it was about cybersecurity. We talked to Brett. Brett is one of the co-founder, I believe, was the official title of the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range. He had a lot of very important things to talk about in terms of the threats that the United States are facing and the things that we need individuals to do in order to address these threats. So if you're interested in cyber warfare, or you're just interested in maybe a possible, very accessible computer-related occupation or career, they offer free learning resources. So they're a free school essentially for anybody of any age and any skill level. So if you don't even know how to use a computer, they have pledged to teach you everything you need to know in order to learn operating systems, in order to learn how to program, and then learn how to become an effective cyber warrior. So if you don't want to go into debt and you still want to have a great career in computing, there's a great opportunity there for you. So just go back and watch the show, and it should give you everything you need. Elio, why don't you just go ahead and just say what those resources are for the folks that don't actually, they only get to listen on the podcast.
So, and real quick before I do that, you're welcome to hang out with us, Brett, if you want to engage in some coding game, and you can whip out those PHP skills and see if you can beat me with Ruby.
Wait a minute. Ruby doesn't even qualify as a programming language. Why is this a fight?
Yeah, we play a game after the interview where it's essentially test-driven development gamified, and if you're down, we certainly have a spot on the team for you.
Well, that's fantastic. We have a guy at the range who's named Giovanni who wants to actually make a hacker sport league where he's put together a way of actually having, just like soccer or football or anything like that, a hacker sport. And I was reading through the paperwork yesterday, and he's done an amazing job. So there's lots of that stuff going on, guys. Honestly, hacking competitions could fill stadiums in my book, and I think what you guys are doing is a great thing, because you're pioneering something that will be big in the future.
So yeah. Brett, Putin Daddy thinks that it's hilarious for me to ask you a question to end the show out, but he's also said that he's going to monetarily support the show if I do it. So I'm going to call him on it, and I'm going to ask you if you hack naked, and now I'm going to put him on the spot to make a tip towards the show.
Fantastic. First of all, get it in cash. I would not take any other form of payment from that dude. Sketchy is the best way I could describe that dude. But let me just assure you that most of the time that I am hacking, I am not wearing any clothing, because I truly enjoy the freeness of not wearing clothing. But when I'm at the cyber warfare range, if I were to do that naked, they would arrest me for public indecency. So I am wearing clothes, much to the irritation of guys like Putin, who would much rather I be naked. I'm sorry, buddy. I just can't help you.
All right. Thank you so much, Brett. All right, everybody. We're going to go to break now. We have I'm sorry. Actually, before we go to break, yes, absolutely. Give us the resources for cyber warfare.
Okay. So I'm not going to read some of these off, because some of these have all kinds of little little identifiers that are very hard to read and or type. So you're going to have to look at the chat messages for those. But the rest of them are pretty easy. So under the just general resources and links section, we have the range website itself, which is azcwr.org. So that's the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range.org. There's also a Google Plus community, which is where a lot of interesting bits of news and other stuff from the range, kind of like the public-facing persona for the range. That's posted in there, but again, it's got a nice like 12-digit number that I'm not going to read out. Should be able to find it if you search. I think there's a link from the other website, and I think you can search it as well on Google Plus. There's another place called CTF Time, and that's ctftime.org. And I don't know a ton about them, but they do cybersecurity competitions. I'm wondering if I should have bumped that down into the CTF and challenges section. Maybe I should have saved that one. Anyway, in the news area, there's the New Boston. They have free training and resources for different languages and cybersecurity stuff, and that's thenewboston.com. And there's Morningstar Security News, and they aggregate cybersecurity news from a whole bunch of popular blogs. So morningstarsecuritynews.com/news. Then there's a YouTube cybersecurity tutorials channel. Again, you're going to have to look at the link because that thing's got a big 20-character hash in there. But search YouTube cyber. You know what? I don't even know if you can search it and if that one will come up. But look in the chat. There's and then of course Southwest Cybersecurity Events. So swcse.com. Great list of resources. That some of these resources and more should eventually get posted to that site. But right now, the main thing there is the calendar of all the events in Arizona. There's also, of course, big conferences. DEF CON is the big one that's been going on for decades that everyone knows about, defcon.org. I think I posted earlier a link to a video from DEF CON. So actually just searching DEF CON talks on YouTube, you can find some really interesting stuff. So, and then the other one that we have, our little local version in Arizona, is CactusCon, and that's just cactuscon.com. And then finally, there's two more challenges and CTF links. So CTF's being Capture the Flag events. There's Awesome CTF, which is actually, it's on GitHub, and it's under, let's see, APSDEHAL, APSDEHAL, /awesome dash CTF, dash on the second one, not slash. And then the final one is Hacking Challenges, and that is, Aman Hardikar, I think, AmanHardikar.com /mindmaps/practice with a capital P.html. So there's a few links that's, should get you started. The other ones, if you haven't read Bruce Schneier's weblog or Brian Krebs, both of those guys, just Schneier, SCHNEIER.com, and then Krebs on security.com. Both of those are really excellent news sites. I'm a huge fan of Schneier. He's written a ton of books, but his weblog is a format that's just basically little snippets. Most of the stuff he posts is a few sentences to a few paragraphs long, and then occasionally he will post much, much longer in-depth articles or read a book. But Schneier is a great way to, he doesn't post it right as it's happening, which is good. He actually takes a few days to really think and make sure all the evidence comes in. We were talking earlier in the comments about how media, they want whatever's going to get eyeballs. Schneier doesn't care about that. So he'll, once the dust is settled, he'll usually post an analysis or a link to to various other sites and analyses of what happened. And you can read about what actually happened without any kind of bias toward making it sensational and trying to get the most views and the most clicks. So his stuff is excellent. So anyway, there's a good party helping to get you started. They could probably keep you going for a few months at least just to get through some of the intro stuff. And as we do more cybersecurity shows, we'll bring other people on that are, related to actually their job is getting these resources, collecting them, and trying to disseminate them to the public. So we'll get something set up. We'll get some more comprehensive lists out there so people can really dig into this. And yeah, if you're in the state, come on by and visit us. And otherwise, check out the range online.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Brett. I think this is it, and we're going to go to break now. I got a Computer Chronicles for us set up. It's from I want to thank Stuart Chaffee Productions and the Computer Chronicles for making these available to us here. And Brett, we'll talk to you on our next show.
Take care, sir. Thanks again.
Yeah, take care. All right, so everyone, of course, we have fun technical issues to deal with tonight. And one of those issues is that I'm having all kinds of weird CPU crap happening. So we're going to see whether or not this going to break even works. And if it does, then fantastic. If not, then I might reset the stream. I'm not sure. But yeah. All right, so we're going to go to break, and don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.